bold, be brave, be extraordinary, be vulnerable, be real, be curious, be true, be you. Welcome to Trusting Your Gut with world-class energy intuitive Catherine McIntosh, a show designed to awaken you to enjoy the process of evolving, have fun along the way, and learn to listen to those silent in-between moments. You are the expert of your own life, and nobody knows more about the next steps to take in your journey than you. So please, listen to your gut and discover what's waiting for you to explore. Here is your host, Catherine McIntosh.
All right, my magical friends. So welcome to today's show. As always, I'm so grateful and glad to be here with all of you. So I'm going to get up close and personal with y'all today and talk about a topic that I think speaks to almost every single person on the planet. And it's, what do we do when our physical body and the ailments that we think we have, when they just aren't improving? And no matter what we do, we go to the doctor, we go to the intuitive, we go to the healer, we go to the chiropractor, we go to the massage therapist, we go to the specialist, we go to, get some herbs or, whatever it is. So before we dive into the actual topic, I want to share a story. And this is a story of something that happened to me when I first started doing this work, sort of really full time and kind of staking a claim, going, hey, I'm going to leave all my other side gigs and I'm going to dive deep, full on into seeing what I can do as a practitioner, as a human on the planet who is obsessed with the body, mind, spirit, soul connectivity. And so I was teaching a class and this woman showed up. She was clearly suffering physically. She had a ton of stuff going on in her spine. And she sat in the front row and I was like, I don't think this is making a difference. I used to work in large groups. I still love doing it. I just don't do it as much. But I was working on the whole room energetically. And then afterwards, she came up to me and she said, do you think that I could do a private session with you? And I was like, absolutely. And so I saw her, and this woman had had probably 5 to 7 surgeries. She had been suffering in her back, in her spine, in her rib cage, in her chest, and like everywhere. Her spine, she was hunched over. Physically, her spine was dealing with a bunch of stuff. And I went to her house. I worked on her, and in an hour-long session, this woman went from being completely hunched over, one of her vertebrae sticking straight out and twisted backwards out of her spine. So when you touched her back, you could feel it, right? It was pretty intense. And within 1 hour, right, by just holding that spot in her body, by talking to the tissues, by talking to her spirit, by letting her know, because what had happened is the doctors were like, this is permanent. The only way to fix it is surgery. The only way you're going to get better is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, like throwing all these things at her, that she was told that her quality of life would be compromised for the rest of her life. And then I come along and I had a different perspective and a different opinion. And the reason I do is because I've been able to work with thousands of bodies all over the world, from all walks of life, with all different kinds of stories and trauma and past experiences. And so I believe that our lives, our life experiences, they live in our bones, they live in our tissues, they live in our body. And so I just worked with that bone. I worked with her spine. I worked with her spirit. I worked with her energy. I just talked to it, right? And in an hour-long session, she went from being completely hunched over to her neck feeling strained, to everything in her body, to being almost, not 100%, but almost physically upright. And she's like, I can't believe it. I've been buying the opinions of all of these trusted medical people, all of these trusted other people. And look, I'm all for the medical community on so many levels. What I'm not for is telling somebody that there's no hope with something, right? Telling somebody that they're screwed for life, because here's the deal. Our body is 60 to 76% water. And the molecule of water responds to energy. So if you throw a thought like, I can't, it won't, it's not possible, I'm going to die, I'm going to die prematurely, or I have a stage four, melanoma, or stage four cancer, I have this, like, yeah, it might be in place, but when you place on the molecule of water an opinion, right? A thought form, a pattern, a belief structure. All of a sudden, the water molecule takes the form of that belief, and then it solidifies it as a truth. Whereas if you can allow a different thought form to come in that is the opposite of what's occurring in the body, all of a sudden it breaks open the pattern, it opens the doors, it creates a different possibility. And so what I specifically wanted to talk about today is, why are there ailments in your body that might not be healing? And this is something that comes up in my practice a ton. And I talk about it some, but I want to kind of deep dive and get to the nitty gritty and hopefully answer some questions you might have, or some curiosities. And so when someone comes to me with a ton of ailments, right? Like, first it was their big toe, then it moved to their hip, then it moved to their spine, now it's in their jaw, now it's in their back. It started as chronic fatigue, and now it looks like it's something different. Like if there's something that's been going on in your body for a very long time, and I hope people can hear this, and this isn't to um, dismiss what you might be experiencing. This isn't to make fun of, or to be, uh, what's the word, crass about it. This is to open the door to what could be perhaps a different possibility. And I always tell people, when you are navigating something in your life, pay attention. Is what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, is it creating an expansion? Are you leaning forward? Does your heart open? Do your ears perk up? You go, oh, right? Or is it creating this, like, right? And so whenever we are diagnosed with something, it usually creates a contraction of energy. That contraction creates a ripple effect in the body, in the molecule of water. And then that molecule of water and the molecules of water start to take a shape depending on the thought form that is either going to take the physical body down, or will take the physical body and open it up, right? And I believe it all depends on perspective. And so when I work with a lot of people who struggle with ailments, and they've been dealing with these ailments for years, if not decades, right? And no matter what you do, you go to the doctor, you go to the chiropractor, you do all of the things, you take the medicine, you get the checkups, you keep, like, experimenting. What I've found is if it hasn't changed or healed, right? If it hasn't transformed, here's what I believe could be happening. Now, every single body on the planet is different. And so this isn't a one size fits all, but this is something that I see regularly in my practice. And I work with these people to help them open up to a different possibility. And so what I believe in those instances, when you've tried everything, right? And you've maybe even, gone vegan or plant-based, or changed your diet, or stopped drinking alcohol, or gotten, what I believe is happening or could be happening. And this is a specific scenario and a specific case, and it's not for everybody, and it's not true for everyone, because there's always different scenarios. But what I believe is that there are a ton of energies in the physical body that are not the person's, right? So let's say you're dealing with something, and no matter what you do, it hasn't changed. No matter what you do, it keeps coming back. And so you keep going, oh, I have this problem, I have this problem, I have this problem. You solidify the molecule of water to solidify the problem in the physical body. But what I believe is happening to a lot of people is that they have other energies inside their bodies that are not theirs. So it could be a relative that passed. It could be you're an empath and you tend to take on a lot of other people's energies, right? So certain circumstances where you've done the work, you're trying to do the healing, you actually have other people's energies inside your body. And how do you know if you do? Right? One is you've tried everything to change your diagnosis or heal the issue you're having. You've tried everything that the doctors say, and it doesn't actually change. That's one way, right? The other one is if you are somebody and you feel like you have a ton of scattered thoughts all the time. If you struggle with anxiety, you can't think straight, you get like a little discombobulated, and you're constantly in your head about certain things, chances are that means you have a lot of other energies inside of you that are kind of steering the ship in all different directions instead of in a clear path forward, right? And just by being one, like a captain at sea. If he's 1 degree off, he could end up on a different continent. And so sometimes we're looking for that big, giant magic formula when in fact it's just a 1 degree or 1% shift in our thought forms, in our consciousness, in our patterns that can actually dramatically help people transform the things they thought they couldn't change, right? And so this, I see this all the time where someone comes in and they have anxiety, they have depression, that maybe they have chronic fatigue, maybe they're dealing with some physical pain in their body, and that pain keeps changing, right? So maybe it goes from the jaw to the back of the shoulder blade, and then from the shoulder blade to a cramp in the side, and then from a cramp in the side to a problem with the ankle or calf, right? And so usually that to me is a sign that there is another energy inside either your spirit or your physical body. And I know this might sound crazy to some, but hopefully it resonates with others, that there is an energy inside of you that actually isn't yours, but it's taken control over your thoughts. And here's where I believe it comes into play is for those of you who had extremely traumatic childhoods, if you're an empath, if you're sensitive to energy, if you're a natural born healer, but you don't know it. And here's how you know if you're a natural born healer. If when you're around other people, they say, oh, I just feel so good when I'm around you. And you know, that's generally a sign that you are a natural born healer and your body has the capacity to heal other people's tissues, cells, organs, energies, spirits, all of that stuff, right? Another way to look at it is if you get around somebody and they kind of dump on you, right? They dump their problems, they dump their worries, and you walk away not feeling better, but they walk away feeling fantastic. Chances are you're an empath, you're a healer, you feel for other people, but you're not always taking care of your truth or what's important to you. And so, if something in your body isn't actually healing, how do you navigate it? Well, first off, you got it really clear. Did you have a death with somebody that's really close to you, right? It could be Could be a spouse, it could be a relative, it could be a really good friend, and they passed, and all of a sudden you start having issues physically. This might sound crazy, but chances are they could be around. They might even be physically in your body because they miss you, right? And if you start having sort of physical symptoms that aren't explainable, or the doctor keeps guessing what's going on, right? Chances are that you have a ton of different energies in your body, right? So for me, there are a couple things that happened to me in my physical journey, in my life path, right? My one was I got really sick, right? When I was in my 20s, because I was married to the wrong person. It was not a good fit for me, and I knew it, but I ignored it, right? The other one was in my teens. I started to have inexplainable pains in my body. I was an athlete. I was uber fit. I barely had any body fat. I could kind of play any sport, but my two that I really excelled at, actually three: volleyball, soccer, and downhill ski racing. And all of a sudden, my junior year in high school, right? It was really sophomore year, but it's really started to see the effects my junior year in high school. I was having inexplainable pains. I was having all this weird stuff happen to my physical body. I started inexplicably gaining a ton of weight. Well, when I was 15, my grandmother died. And I've told this story before, but my grandmother, my mom's mom, we looked alike. We had the same name. People always say I remind them of her. I remind them of her. Um, but she died on my 15th birthday at 10:30 in the morning, and I knew it, which was also a sign that I knew that I was also psychic, intuitive, whatever you want to call it. And after she died, what I didn't know at 15 is that the moment she died, I almost passed out. Well, she came into my body. Didn't know it till I was in my 30s. And when she came into my body, all of a sudden, this fit, healthy, green eyed, uber, like athletic, like joy for living, bright eyed, no problems really. All of a sudden, like, went to the other side. And I started having physical problems. I started having emotional problems. I started to feel disconnected from myself. My body started gaining a ton of weight. Well, my grandmother had come into my body and I didn't know it. And so if you have had somebody in your life that you are very close to, right? Relative, lover, friend, and all of a sudden you start having anxiety symptoms that you didn't have before, depression symptoms. And look, you might have had them a decade ago or 2 decades ago, but if it comes on instantaneously and suddenly, chances are that the person that you loved and cared for is around you, right? They might be physically in your body, they might be physically in your space, in your house, in your car, right? And it's about identifying, acknowledging, and then beginning to let them go. But here's what I want to say about this physical body thing is we weren't meant to suffer. We weren't necessarily meant, this is just my personal opinion. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm not any of that. But I believe that we were not meant to come here and physically suffer and emotionally suffer. Yes, do we all go through it? Absolutely. But are we supposed to stay there? I don't think so. I really don't, right? And in this time, in this age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius is about waking up the planet, right? Bringing those that are here to be a light, right? Waking them up, allowing them to start to have their gifts. And so a lot of times, right, when I got the one time I got sick, and this happened with a lot of people who they might be married, they might be partnered, they might be living with someone, they might be in a long-term relationship, and all of a sudden, or for the past 5 years or 2 years or a decade, they keep struggling with their physical body. They keep getting sick. Chances are that is not the right relationship for you. Happened in my first marriage, almost died because I was trying to stay in a relationship and in a marriage where I was not safe, where it was not good for me to be there, right? And so our bodies are really aware of energy, right? And if you grew up in a very tumultuous, traumatic, unsafe environment, chances are you probably took on other energies as a child to survive. And so, I'll give you an example. I used to go into my closet, right? I had this giant room, but I had this tiny closet, but it was really long and dark. And I would go into the back of the closet, into the back of the room, and I would hang out with all my stuffed animals in the dark, mind you. But in my world, in my kid brain, it was like a secret place. Sometimes I'd bring a flashlight, sometimes I would just sit in the dark. And I would be there and have these crazy conversations with my stuffed animals, right? And I had a lot of other energies around me all the time to keep me safe and to keep me entertained. Well, as a child, it allowed me to survive, but as an adult, it started to create a bit of a problem because then I felt like, which voice is my voice? What is actually my truth? Right. And so I was really good at showing up for others in a way that they needed, but I wasn't always good at knowing what my truth was. And I find that a lot of people who have a lot of trauma get really good at taking care of other people, at showing up for what other people want, but they're not so good at staking a claim of what would be true for them. And if they do know what is true for them, or what they desire, or what they want, or what they wish for, they have a really hard time feeling safe asking for it, feeling safe expressing their feelings, feeling safe that it's okay to want what you want, right? And guess what? Whenever we don't feel safe, we create conflict. And whenever we create conflict, we compromise our nervous system. And whenever we compromise our nervous system over long periods of time, we can get into these chronic states of a dysregulated or irregulated nervous system, which can keep the body in constant fight or flight, which increases the cortisol levels, increases maybe tension in the jaw, tension in the neck, stress or anxiety, and then it compromises over long periods of time, can drastically compromise the health. And most people, I find this fascinating, most people don't know it, but if their digestion is off, it's usually not a digestion problem, it's a nervous system problem. And most people don't know this, right? So if you go being regular, and all of a sudden you experience some stress in your life and your digestion issues start to flare up, it isn't about your digestion, it's about the fact that your nervous system is dysregulated. And so, how do we fix the digestion? We fix the nervous system. How do we fix the nervous system? Really simple things that you can do every day to either work with your vagus nerve, to work with your tailbone, to work with the energy in your parasympathetic nervous system, to work with the energy in your spinal column and your spinal fluid. Really simple stuff that you can do, and it doesn't have to be complicated. But if you do it over time, again, that 1 degree shift, 1% shift, and that 1% shift, right, if you're a captain out to sea, can end you up on a different continent. So when you take the time to do a 1% or 1 degree shift in how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you respond, how you regulate your nervous system. Most people don't know this, but just 2 minutes a day can reduce your cortisol levels by up to 65% if you do just a few things, 2 minutes a day. So simple. And yet, most people would rather spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on doctors or supplements or, surgeries or whatever it is. But usually, and I believe this is a huge thing, if we as a planet, as a society, focused on regulating our nervous systems, we'd have a very different world. We'd have better relationships, we'd have better communication, we'd have greater intimacy, we'd have greater clarity, we'd probably have more abundance, right? Not as much drama. And so, yeah. So there's a lot more to say about this, but I just wanted to kind of share some of it. And if this resonates with you, please feel free to share this episode with a friend. Feel free to email us at Catherine@CatherineMcIntosh.com. And if you want to call in and ask a question about something that's going on with your health that you can't figure out, we do take live callers. It is my favorite thing to do. You can be anonymous if you want, right? And I will do my best to sort of answer any questions you have, which may take you on a different path. But if you'd like, I just have to pull up the number. You can call in at 202, right? Let's see if we got it. 202-570-7057. And this is only if you have ailments about your body that you've tried for longer than a year to resolve. 202-570-7057. So my beautiful friends, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be back after these messages, so stay tuned and we'll continue this conversation.
Times TV.
Do you trust you? Do you trust your body? What if the key to unlocking the weight, pain, suffering, fear, anxiety, addictions, traumas, and sorrows was already inside of you? Learn to love the skin you are in so you can create the body, business, and life you love. Everyone always says you can't explain what Catherine does, you just have to experience it. From Hollywood actors to New York Times best-selling authors to some of the world's wealthiest and most successful, no two experiences are the same. For private sessions, online courses, live events, and the latest book Jack Canfield calls Game Changer and should be required reading for everyone, go to CatherineMcIntosh.com. CatherineMcIntosh.com.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
All right, my magical friends. So, welcome back to today's show. We are talking about health, in particular, the physical body, and what happens when you haven't been able to change the ailments that you've been struggling with. And so, if that's you, let me just first say, oh, it sucks. And I'm sorry. But let me also say, there is something you can do about it. Now, it's not a quick fix, it's not a one size fits all scenario, but it's beginning to identify. So here's the deal. And I say this, been fortunate enough for over 2 decades, really almost 3 decades, to work with people from all walks of life, all patterns, all scenarios, all different traumas, all different, ethnic backgrounds and geographical backgrounds. And, I've been fortunate enough. I do kind of a little bit of everything, right? So from divorces to clearing houses to helping a property sell to working with trauma to helping somebody build and grow their business to helping healers really tap into the gift of their healing. But the thing that I kind of geek out on the most, and look, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just saying I've found certain things that tend to be true sometimes for a lot of people. It's not always true for everyone because everybody's case is different and everybody sees the world differently. And so the biggest challenge that we face when we are trying to navigate health patterns or health ailments, right, is that if what you've been trying isn't working, if the diagnosis with the medication you've been given isn't changing, chances are there's something else going on, right? And what I believe can happen to a lot of people is that they'll have different energies in their bodies, and these different energies are the energies that are creating the ailments. So, what do? You start getting rid of those energies, right? Kind of like if you're going to do a spring cleaning, right? You go through your house and you start throwing away the things you no longer need or use. Same thing with the body. Sometimes we tend to hoard onto old thought patterns, old belief systems, old traumas, old experiences, right? And then we keep telling that same story. We keep feeling that same fear. We keep worrying about the same thing over and over again. And I'm not saying it's easy, but that 1% or 1 degree shift can begin to make a really significant difference in your future. So let me give you an example. I tend to use me as the example, not because I like talking about myself, but because a lot of times I keep, no one knows. I keep my clients private, but it's also not always my story to tell, right? It's not always my story to tell. And so a couple years ago, was going through perimenopause and woke up one day, no joke. I thought that most women through menopause, I thought that they were lying. I thought they were making it up. I thought they were being healthy. I was doing yoga 5 days a week. I was going skiing. I was hiking. I was like eating really clean. I was having a great life. And all of a sudden I wake up with 15 extra pounds around my belly, severe chronic fatigue, could barely work, could barely slept all the time, felt exhausted, felt depressed, felt panic attacks and anxiety. And I was like, what the heck? Now, most people go, oh, I'm destined to do this. Or most people go, let me go to the doctor, which I did do. I went to a lot of different doctors. I went to a lot of different experts in the field, and none of it really helped change things long term. What did was a 1%, 1 degree shift. And that shift for me was focusing on healing my nervous system, focusing on regulating, right? My nervous system, so that once my nervous system was regulated, my hormones could change. Once my hormones could change, my metabolism could change. Once my metabolism changed, my liver and spleen, like everything affects everything, right? And so one of the most challenging things to do when you get sick or you're in pain or you have a diagnosis, right? Yes, go to the doctor, get information, but please don't buy it as real, because what happens as somebody who works on bodies for a living is people come to me with a diagnosis, and then it's my job to take the energy of that diagnosis, the energy of the solidified thing that you now struggle with, to take the energy out of the cells, off the body, out of, right? Can't tell you how many people, when they're going through a stressful life transition, come to me with digestive issues. And I'm like, what have you tried? Well, I tried this and I tried that and I tried this and I did this. And I was like, have you tried healing your nervous system? And they all go, what? What? And so I believe that in order to truly create a healthy foundation for a shift in your physical and your emotional and your spiritual, is one, to start to heal that nervous system, right? I have some free, I have a free download on my website, Healing the Nervous System. It's a free nervous system download. I will be offering in the near future some things that you can do, somatic exercises. I teach somatic classes at O2 in Aspen. So if you're ever in Aspen, you can come visit me at O2. And we will be creating just a whole bunch of stuff to help with this concept of, wow, build a really solid foundation. So that's step one. Step two is to change your program, right? Because what are the thoughts you're telling yourselves? What are the things you're thinking? It's sort of like somebody who walks around and says, oh, I'm broke, can't afford it, I can't afford it. And they're always kind of struggling financially. Well, why? Because they have a mindset that is creating that as a reality. And when we're dealing with the physical body, sometimes it's so hard to believe that a shift is possible because we look at the reality of the situation. But if you keep repeating that reality, and every time you repeat that reality, it makes you feel contracted, it makes you feel small, maybe you start to feel depressed or anxious, right? Then stop telling that story and start to create a different energy. So when I started doing these somatic exercises on my own, right, went to grad school for somatic psychology, I didn't finish, didn't graduate. I learned a lot. I also learned that strictly talk therapy made things worse. So when I moved to Boulder, Colorado for grad school, we were told we had to also invest, right? It was like $100,000 for 1 year. We were told that we also had to invest in personal therapy. And so I started going to therapy. And I'd gotten out of therapy. I'd done shamanism. I'd done a lot of breath work. I'd done a lot of blindfolded shamanic ritual dancing. I'd done a lot of different healing work and studied a ton of different modalities. I read a lot. I self-taught myself. And so I was really excited to go to grad school to open up the door to begin to offer this on a bigger scale. Well, in grad school and in my personal therapy as part of the program, I started having to talk about my problems that I didn't really have before, problems that I had solved and healed. But guess what? You can certainly regurgitate problems by talking about them over and over again. And so at the end of that 1 year cycle in grad school, I was more depressed. I'd gained 15 pounds, was like almost suicidal. And I was like, talk therapy is not for me. Now, it might be for some people. What I've done in my practice is I look at how do I take the energy of the body, change the molecules, open it up, let go of the lies that we stick ourselves with, right? And open the door to what could be a brand new possibility. And so, what if what is going on with you right now, you want to use it as proof for it's true? But what if you could shift that truth, right? Because here's the deal, if it does not make you excited, expansive, if it doesn't light up your entire world, right, then it might not be the truth that sets you free, right? It might not be the thing that's sticking you. A lot of people have a lot of different energies in their field all the time. And those different energies, right, are what might be, not saying they are, but what might be what is causing the physical symptoms. You could also be unhappy in your life. You might hate your job. Like I deal with a lot of people, they come in, I'm like, how's your marriage? Are you happy? How's your job? Do you like it? Most people go, oh my God, my job sucks. It's creating so much pain, right? Or I hate it. I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's causing your back problems, right? Not, oh, I'm 65 years old and my back problems are because of physical. No, most physical ailments, not saying all, but most physical ailments are caused by not navigating the emotions, right? By being stuck in chronic fight or flight and then having the emotional insecurity come on top of it, right? And then having that be sort of the catalyst for a physical breakdown or an emotional breakdown or a mental breakdown. We were not meant to suffer, period. We weren't. We weren't. And so, no matter where you are in your journey, what if what's going on in your life is not your fault? What if you're not meant to suffer? What if there is a solution? And so, what are the thoughts that you keep repeating over and over and over again that aren't allowing you to heal, to get free, and to transform? And so, working with the parasympathetic nervous system, working with regulating your nervous system, I believe is one of the most fundamentally important things that we can do to shift not just our physical health, but our emotional health, our mental health, our financial health, our relationship health, right? I truly believe that a regulated nervous system, which there aren't a lot of people walking around with regulated nervous systems, because look at what's going on the planet. Look at past life, stuff. Look at this, like childhood traumas. Look at, what happened when the world shut down. Look at all of the fights and conflicts. Look at the political turmoil happening in the world. We keep living in a world where there's an increase of stress, a decrease of connection and connectivity, and a decrease on the importance of staying calm. This isn't about grounding, because when you're calm, when your nervous system is regulated, you don't need grounding, right? Because you, as a being, are infinite. You're infinitely intelligent. You're infinitely aware. You're infinitely alive. And you don't need grounding. You need to connect to your spirit. You need to connect to your truth. You need to connect to you. So, my friends, one day at a time, one moment at a time, one energy at a time, I highly recommend you look into regulating your nervous system. I am going to be offering a class that will probably change your world. You can download the free nervous system download on my website and send us an email, and we're going to be rolling out a new class very soon, which is very exciting. It's going to help a whole lot of people. And I've had healers look at this, I've had clients go through it, and they're all like, Catherine, this changes people's lives. I'm like, yeah, better than talk therapy, because it's about getting into the cellular, into the molecular, into the spiritual realm where there is no timeline and things can transform immediately. So please stop telling yourself and telling others the story of what you think you have. Please stop thinking it's your fault. Please stop kind of living from a contracted place. And please stop trying to bang on a door that's closed in your life. Go look at all the doors that are open for you right now. All the doors that want to open for you. And when you, like this morning, I was driving in to the spa and I'm like, I had a closed door that was right in my face. And I was like, didn't realize I was banging on it. All of a sudden I went, oh my God, okay, let me look at all the open doors. And I went, oh my gosh, this is happening in my life, and this is happening in my life. And I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this person. I'm grateful for that experience. And so I just started looking at all of the doors that were open to me. And guess what? A shift, right? A moment. So this isn't about being perfect. I have moments every single day that take me off track. And then guess what? It's not anybody's fault. It's my job to reframe, to shift the perspective, to come back to center, and to re-regulate. And so, my friends, wherever you are on your journey, there's help. There's hope, right? Are you willing to shift that mindset? Because that is where it begins. Are you willing to shift, right, the nervous system? And that means 1% change a day. 1%, right? There is one thing that you can do, really simple. I tell everybody, clasp those hands, put them back of your head, right? And just hang out there for 2 minutes, right? You can do it walking around. I walk around my house like this sometimes, and this can decrease your cortisol levels by up to 65% if you just hold it for 2 minutes. So go ahead, if you're listening, as long as you're not driving, grab those hands, put them behind your head, right? Maybe uncross your legs, kind of hang out, and just see how lean back, right? And just breathe. You are not your traumas, right? You are not your traumas. You are not your past. You don't have to keep repeating old patterns and old lifetimes. We just had a lunar eclipse, right? Which is all about letting go of the karmic cycle you were born with in this lifetime, whether you believe it or not, but we're letting go of old patterns. And guess what? You just got to let it. So don't bring it back with your thoughts. Don't keep telling the same story that you don't want happening. Don't keep saying you're broke. Don't keep saying you're sick, right? Don't keep saying you have X, Y, and Z. Start to shift, right? And look at and explore all the open doors, all the good things that are happening in your life. One day at a time, one moment at a time, but every single day is a chance to change your life. Today, right now, in this moment, a chance to change your life. You just have to be willing to be open, stop telling the same stories, and start living your life. So, my magical friends, thank you for joining me today, live from my spa in Aspen. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for listening. If this message impacted you, please feel free to share it with others. Can't wait to see you on the other side. And don't forget to go to the website, catherinemcintosh.com, spelling of my name.com, and go ahead, download that free download. It is old. I do look different in the videos. So it's a testament to doing 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day over a long period of time can literally change your life. So go for those small shifts, my friends. Keep paying attention to who you are. Thank you for being here. and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Catherine is not a medical practitioner nor a licensed therapist. She has strong opinions and will express them, and truly believes that you are your best advocate for any and every area of your life. If you need medical advice, please consult your physician.